But when bloodshed is called for to demand human dignity, then we know there's something more important in life, and that's human dignity and freedom, and we're always willing to give life to arrive at freedom and human dignity. Of course, you know, I have to remind a lot of people of that. I have, it's true, sometimes you do get read. Oh, I met my sister here, her name is Najib Malik, and my sister's a professional nurse, so you know I have cancer, so my family wouldn't let me take my first trip out unless my sister came with me to ensure this, so my sister had to travel with me to be my jailer. But I have a lot of arguments with people since I got cancer because they keep saying, well, you know, the most important thing is your life. And I tell them, no, the most important thing is not my life. The most important thing is to struggle. And I'm willing to give my life for the struggle. So what's cancer? Give me a break. So we have to constantly remind ourselves that life is not the most important asset. Capitalism seeks to dig that in your head. If you ain't got you, who you got? No. This concept of individualism, which capitalism has taken to ludicrous heights, I mean, in its culture, you see Superman, you see Rambo, you see just ludicrous heights, the individual, it's just stupidity. Not only stupidity, it's just untrue. It is totally untrue. Matter of fact, if you really examine this from biological aspects, from cultural aspects, from social aspects, you will see that the individual which they portray must be an animal. Because it's only animals on their own, without others, who can grow their fullest animal potential. A human being, isolated from the human race, will never grow to their fullest human potential. It is the people who always socialize the individual. It's the people who teaches the individual everything. Everything the individual learns, he learns from the people. Therefore, if the individual is conscious, everything they learn, they must give back to the people. That's clear. That's crystal clear. That's crystal clear. This aspect of the individuals we can crush very easily. You know, if you take a cat when it's a kitten, a dog when it's a puppy, you take a baby, a human being when it's a baby, if you put all three in the woods by themselves, the dog will grow to its fullest capacity to be a dog. The kitten will grow to its fullest capacity to be a kitten. But the baby, will question whether or not it will live. First of all, it might scratch itself to death if somebody doesn't cut its nails. Certainly, if it doesn't scratch itself to death, the human beings are so stupid that they're the only species that will walk into fire with a smile on their face. The kitten will never go into fire. The dog will never go to fire. The puppy will never go. The ant will never go. But the human being, the baby, Human beings isolated from their species are more stupid than other animals isolated from their species. This is a fact. You take the same dog, the kitten, the puppy, and the baby just born. Put them to live with monkeys. The dog, though living with monkeys, will grow to be a full dog. He'll bark, wag his tail, and love bones. The kitten growing up among monkeys will be a full cat. It will meow, it will love milk. The first time it sees a mouse, it will chase it, play with it, and eat it. But the human being growing up with monkeys, he'll walk like a monkey, talk like a monkey, eat monkey food, and try to make a contribution to monkey culture. So we must stop all this nonsense about the individuals, the people who come. The people first. Everything we learn from the people, not the individual. We say the capitalist system thwarts our very thinking. You know what people say? Well, if I don't help myself, how can I help others? It sounds like a real great statement, doesn't it? But unless you help others, you can't help yourself. That's a fact. That's a fact. But the socialism which we want is a collective socialism. One in which the interests of the masses of the people reign supreme above the individual's interest on every level, at every occasion. As a matter of fact, it's really a statement that students should take to heart, especially African students. Our people first. Our people first, then you and I later as individuals, but first our people. It is the struggles of the people that put us where we are. No African student at Oberlin can really think they got to Oberlin without the struggles of their people. That's backward thinking. That's backward thinking. The only reason they're here is because of the struggles of their people. The only reason we advance is because of the struggles of the people. Socialist system calls for collective understanding of the need to serve humanity, to put its service first. Africa has all these humanistic values. Capitalism has tried everywhere to destroy them, everywhere. Even here in America, as confused as the Africans are, you can find retentions of the humanistic values still found within the community. Of course, capitalism is doing everything possible to destroy them, to make us to become individuals detached from our people, thinking that we can do so much without them. And one man said to me, "What do people ever do for me? How about teaching you how to speak, monkey?" And you know, they really make great statements. And it's really pathetic. Of course, to get to Pan-Africanism calls for struggle. Calls for serious struggle. I mean, in every arena. You will read textbooks in America, and they will never mention the contributions that Africa has made to world civilization and the world history. Ever. I mean, not ever. As a matter of fact, when I was a child, they actually told me in my textbook in American school that it's true that slavery was horrible, but Africans ought to be happy because the life they were living in Africa was worse than what they endured in slavery. They say it. They say it. They say it. They drum it into our heads. In so many ways, with their Tarzan movies, with the bloated bellies of Africans, people that they're so helpless they can't do anything unless white people come and feed them. You know, so many things done in so many ways to make you feel that Africa can do nothing by itself. Africa is the richest continent on the face of the earth. When she's properly organized, she'll be the most powerful continent on the face of the earth. This word power is the one that people somehow do not like. I remember when we first dropped the Black Power slogan on the Mississippi March, Dr. King, who fortunately was away that night doing a Meet the Press news. History is wonderful, you know. They sometimes give you victories you didn't deserve. But of course, Dr. King was away that night, so we had the whole stage, and we certainly made proper use of it for the people. And when Dr. King, they brought him back real quick, saw his Black Power. Dr. King said, "Well, Kwame, you know, I think the term power," I said, "What's wrong with it, Dr. King? You're a preacher, you use it all the time. I hear the power of the Lamb of the blood, the power of Jesus Christ, peace be upon his name, the power of faith." So I said, "What's wrong with the word when you put black next to it?" You know? He said, "No, I understand it." He said, "But you know the reaction from it." I said, "Oh, I don't worry about that no more, Dr. King. It's your problem. You got to worry about the reaction, not me. You're nonviolent." That's not my problem. He said, "Well, can't you use another term? How about black consciousness?" And I said, "Well, that'd be cool if we were the majority. We'll be the minority." So I said, once you're the majority, you got power automatically. It's just consciousness and you seize power. But once you're the minority, you can't seize power just like that through consciousness. You got to be aiming for power. And your conscience got to be aiming for that power. So it's got to be black power, Dr. King. "Well, I really wish you'd think of something else." I said, "No, I ain't thinking about nothing else because it's power that oppresses us. It's nothing but power. And therefore, we need power to be free." But people are afraid of the word power. And the reason is because, again, this capitalist system. You know what it says? A teacher told me one time, "I heard what you said about power, and you're fighting for power, but let me tell you this, power corrupts, and absolute power absolutely corrupts." I had to water. I said, "You've learned your lessons well." And you know why they make that statement? Because in making that statement, they've made a value judgment that capitalism has given them, that man and woman is basically evil. Can you dig that? Can you dig that? Basically evil. This is the one-sided approach they give in life every time, and that's what capitalism does all the time. They give a one-sided view of life, always. If it's the Palestinians and the Zionists, it's just the Zionist side, not the Palestinian side. If it's cowboy and Indians, it's just the cowboys. The Indians are not mentioned. You know, always it's one-sided, and that one side gives you the whole side, I imagine. So, this one-sided view can really, really confuse people a lot, because sometimes out of one side they think they've gotten both sides. Capitalism comes to give us one side. They say that human nature is basically negative. This is anti-historical. It is anti-human life. Dialectics is what governs life, and dialectics tells us everything has an opposite. Everything has an opposite. There's nothing that's one-sided. If man is basically evil, he's also basically good. As a matter of fact, this, in fact, exists. Not only that, because capitalism seeks to corrupt us, I mean, seriously corrupt us in every aspect, because once you're corrupted, you can't condemn anybody else, obviously. they seek to tell us and create in us this image, this one-sided image that man is basically evil. And then, well, if man is basically evil, capitalism is supposed to be. Because this man is basically evil, he's just reaching for money by any evil ways he can get it, and that's the way life is. You just got to live with it. But man is not basically evil. Matter of fact, I would go to the extreme extent, and I know I'd be correct giving short, clear social examples, that man is basically good. The reason why we can say that man, woman is basically good is because inside of every woman there exists a conscience. Inside of every one of them. And this conscience doesn't ask for, it's given to us. Now, to understand this conscience, some people think that this conscience just affects the mind. No, it affects the body itself. It affects the body itself. Today, in most police stations in America, they have what they call lie detectors test. There's a scientific basis for the lie detector test. Inside of our human bodies, there are glands. One of these glands is called the adrenaline gland. When you lie, even though nobody else knows you're lying, the adrenaline gland knows you're lying, it pumps more adrenaline in your body. Sometimes when you lie, your palms sweat. It's a result of the body action itself. Matter of fact, I think the reason Americans have so much stress is because they lie so much. Tell them I'm not home. But people are actually basically good. And I'll give you an example of students. Every student knows instinctively, hear the word instinctively, without being taught by their parents, their teachers, or their preachers, that to cheat is incorrect. They know it instinctively. Every student knows it instinctively. Now, of course, students cheat. That's another reason. And of course, that cheating has to do with the values of the society. Either the values help the negative aspects of life, or they help the positive aspects of life. If in your society, all you do is cultivate the negatives, you can lie, you know it's supposed to cheat, you're supposed to get money by any means necessary, well, it's clear the negative attitudes of human life, of human nature, will be dominant. But if the positives are preached, and the positives are given, then of course, for example, if we would say seriously, and the students in Oberlin would really get serious, you know, the ones who should do it, of course, really the ones who should really lead are the African students. Because the African students, their people had to give up their lives for them to get here to Oberlin. You understand? So if you come and cheat, you're not cheating on anybody else but your people, because they're the ones who fought for you to get this education. You know, the poor are pure. That's why I stay with them all the time. I don't go near the rich. I want to rub shoulders with them. I'm always with the poor. You won't see with none of them big people. None of them. The poor are pure. The poor fight and die for positions which they're incapable of holding. I've seen it all the time. I recall a few years in Ghana when visiting Brother Akbar Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. There's a house there in Ghana, a lot of people there. I told him, hey, Akbar, I'm going outside. Sit down outside the gate. I closed this gate, I sat down on a little canal there. The gardener from next door came, he sat down, we introduced ourselves. He said, your name is Kwame? I said, yeah. He said, you in Ghana? I said, no, I live in Guinea. He said, how'd you get the name Kwame? I said, well, you know, it's a big African country, you know. So we started talking about Ghana. Well, now, I was Kwame Nkrumah's political secretary when he was co-president in the People's Republic of Guinea. So I learned the history of Ghana from Nkrumah. I know the history of Ghana, especially the independence struggle. So as the man was discussing one thing, he'd say one thing, I'd finish it. After a while, now the man doesn't even know me. There's the first night the man met me, doesn't even know I'm Kwame Ture, just another Kwame, you know. He stops, he said, you know what? He said, you seem like you know a lot. And you seem like you got a good heart. He said, you know what, people like me, he said, I didn't even go more than third standard. He said, I can hardly read and write. But people like me can get behind you and push you, and you can go through something first. This is the poor. They're pure. That's why they're so easily taken advantage of, because they are pure. It's a fact. It's a fact. And everywhere you see it, the people who fought for you to get to Oberlin, they couldn't even get to Oberlin. They didn't have the academic qualifications to get here. But they knew some of us did, and they had a right to fight because they died with the faith, knowing that the one who gets there is going to help the people. That's the only reason they gave up their blood. If indeed the African students at Oberlin really understood how they got here in the course of struggle, all of them would be A students. Every last one of them. And I don't mean A students for the grade A. I mean A students for acquiring the knowledge that they have to use to help their people. Therefore, the African students should be the first leading the fight for honest campuses and honest acquiring of our knowledge and no cheating. I mean, no cheating. When you see a brother or sister cheating, you tell them, hey man, you're cheating on my people. Stop it. That's right. You got to take the hard line where truth is concerned. There can be no compromise where principles are concerned. One can compromise on strategy and tactics. I remember as a young man in college in my freshman year in a political science course, reading in a textbook, politics is the art of compromise. I said, really? And I was a child then. I said, really? That's where they start. When they think of politics is the art of compromise, nothing makes any sense. You know, a man said to me even earlier this afternoon, he said, you know, Kwame Ture, you just don't allow for compromise. I'm a revolutionary, Jack. I fight for principles. Ain't no compromise in principles. Kwame Nkrumah says precisely, anytime you compromise on this principle, you've abandoned it. There are no in-betweens, and we gave the example earlier this afternoon. On a test in school, either you cheat or you don't cheat. Where's the in-between? Where's the middle? There is no middle ground here. Either you lie or you tell the truth. Well, I only told a white lie. You lied! Either you lie or you tell the truth. There is no middle ground where principles are concerned. Either you fight for the people, or by your very act of inactivity, you are against your people. Capitalism imposing this individual nonsense will intoxicate our students into irresponsible behavior. Some of them will actually believe that they have nothing to do with their people's struggle, and having nothing to do with people's struggle means they're not against the people. Where are you coming from? Where are you coming from? You mean your mother is in trouble and you sit down and you say, I ain't got nothing to do with this, and you're not against your mother? No, when your mother's in trouble, you're there to help her. If you're not there to help her, it ain't your mother. When your people are in trouble, if you're not there to help them, it ain't your people. Just thinking of you standing aside and looking and you have the right to be arbitrary and objective, it's nothing but rubbish, reactionary rubbish, and you excusing yourself for not making any contribution to the advancements of your people's struggle, even though they brought you to where you are. African students at Oberlin, you have a serious task before you. You have to come to teach yourself about Africa. You have to come to teach yourself about Africa. Oberlin will not do it at this period. This means that you have double struggle. You have to get the work given to you in the classroom, plus you've got to get the work for your people. Matter of fact, even at Howard University, which was most reactionary when I was there as a student, we've helped to clean it up, but it's still reactionary. It's a long struggle now. You must not get carried away with this capitalist thing about instant now. Freedom is not instant. It is a constant, eternal struggle. Some students think that they come to university and they struggle for a few years, and after they're going to sit down. No, 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 no. Struggle is to the grave. You do it just like Harriet Tubman, you do it like Rosa Luxemburg, or you leave it alone. It's as simple as that. Once you pick up and decide to struggle, my condemnation of those who struggled in the 60s and all they talk about, well, in the 60s I was in. What you do today? Oh, you should have seen me in the 60s. And what you do today? And boy, in the 60s we raised hell. And you should have, what you do today? Well, I ain't doing nothing. Well, you should be shot. You're a traitor. Yes. In a capitalist army, you can be shot for deserting the army. Did you know that? Of course. In the People's Army, you should be shot for deserting the People's Army because it's voluntary. Didn't nobody ask you to volunteer to fight for the people? And once you volunteer to fight for the people, you've got to fight for the people until death. That's what it is. Oberlin students, you have to teach yourself about Africa. Not only do you have to teach yourself about Africa, but dig this. You have to teach your unconscious, illiterate masses about Africa. And you have to make them proud of being Africans. Right now, they're held in shame. You have to make them proud. And these masses, to come to be proud of Africa, it's your responsibility. You must not think it's anybody else's responsibility except yours. It is your responsibility. It is you who have the knowledge, and therefore those who have more must give more. So you have this responsibility. Your people, we say, are ashamed of Africa. I mean, ashamed of it. Sometimes I'm just totally confused. I mean, Europeans left Europe voluntarily to come to America. They left it voluntarily. Of course, some of them left because of economic exploitation, as in the case of the Irish. Some left because of religious intolerance, of which Europe, of course, is quite famous. Some left for any number of reasons. But they came voluntarily. They decided to leave Europe. No African volunteered to leave Africa and come to America. Not one. Not one. And if one were to talk about Holocaust, just take a look at a slave ship, and if that's not a Holocaust, you tell me what is. Just look at it. They came under most horrendous conditions to get here. They're the worst treated. And yet when you talk about Africa, what Africa? I'm an American. The Europeans who came here voluntarily will tell you, well, you know, I came from Russia. I go back there in the summer to see my grandmother. I came from France. We go there. But the Africans, Africa. You come from Africa. I come from Africa. Yeah, how can you tell? You got African skin, you got African hair, you got African nose, you got African lips. Matter of fact, you look all African. Well, I got some Indian blood in me. Must be Blackfoot. I'm glad you told me. Your people want to be everything else except African. And this is a result of the education. This shows you this capitalist system doesn't just rape your labor. It wants your mind, make you ashamed of your own solution. Because unless you know Africa, love Africa, like Malcolm said, if you hate where you come from, how are you going to love where you are and where you're going? Africa is our home. Of that, there isn't the slightest question. Africa is our home. Of that, there isn't the slightest question. We didn't volunteer to leave Africa. Each of us were taken out of Africa against their will. Therefore, once you talk about law of return, we got the first rights. But as we said, Africans don't even want to look to Africa. They think as if Africa has done absolutely nothing. The contributions which Africa has made to world civilization is nothing less than overwhelming. The contributions which Africa has made to world civilization is nothing less than overwhelming. It is the job of